Why do our words fail to connect? Or why do our words sometimes not carry the meaning or connection that maybe we think that they should have? Let me think through this example with you. Imagine you're with your spouse or significant other, you're out for a walk, you're out for a drive, whatever it is, the two of you are together, and you just get this feeling and you turn to your spouse and you say, hey, you know what, is everything okay? And you get this response, everything is fine. And at this point, that sense that you had, now there's like alarm bells going off in your mind, or at least there is for me in this situation. It's like, hold on a second, everything is fine. Everything is not fine. It's like, what have I forgotten? What did I do or what did I not do? I'm racking my brain. We're going to DEFCON 5 here. Like, things are not okay. So if we were basing this communication solely on just the words that were communicated, everything's fine, I might continue through my day blissfully unaware that everything was not fine, right? But we know inherently that, there's so much more that goes into communication than just the words that we use. We know that there's all these other factors that go into it and come around it. And when we know that, we can start to, unpack that, learn about those so that we can employ those to be able to better connect with people. When we understand, what actually connects with people that's beyond just the words, that allows us to understand and learn about that and be able to better connect with those that we're looking to connect with. So in John Maxwell's book, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect, we come across chapter 3. And the title of that chapter is Connecting Goes Beyond Words. And in that chapter, he says that the words that we choose, the words that we use, are only actually about 7% of what people believe about what we communicate. There's so much more that's going on. Over 90% of our communication when we're communicating with people is beyond our words. And, I've often thought about that, and I've thought about, the areas of like, well, the way that I dress or how I present myself in confidence and, how I hold my posture, all these different things in communication, very visual. I'm like, well, that must be a massive amount of it, right? But it actually goes beyond that and goes deeper than that. And John does an excellent job of unpacking that in this chapter. So John breaks this down into what he calls the 4 components of connection. And the first one is visual, kind of like what we're talking about here. And it's interesting when you think about it and you do walk with purpose, when you do communicate with purpose and actually look people in the eye, that goes a long way. I know I have had the opportunity over the years in my years in serving in leadership positions, and I still do get the opportunity to interview people all the time. And I love to not just sit and have a conversation with someone. I love to get up and walk around the facility where we are. I love to kind of move into different spaces. I like to know, how do they move about a room? How do they engage in conversation? Are they able to maintain eye contact? Is there confidence there? Because that's going to play into how they are as a part of the team. I want a better sense of just sitting across the table from someone. I want to be able to move around and see how they move with purpose. The other thing that he suggests when you're thinking about communication and connection, and you're thinking about sort of that visual element, is being very aware of your surroundings. What is it that's going to impact or maybe distract people from connecting with you or communicating with you? Are there things that are going to draw their attention away from what it is that you're trying to communicate or how you're trying to connect with that person? If there's too much noise, too much going on around us, but is there too much that's distracting from the connection that you're trying to make in your surroundings? You need to be very aware and cognizant of that. That all plays into how you connect. And the second component that John lays out is connecting intellectually. And John says to connect intellectually, you need to know 2 things. You need to know yourself, and you need to know the person or the audience that you're trying to connect with. And he says, when it comes to knowing yourself, you need to be able to speak from a place of experience. Speak from who you are, not speaking of the experience of others, but speak of your own experiences and what it is that you have done. And he said it actually took him 8 years to sort of hone who he was as a speaker to be able to properly connect with people. I found that really encouraging because I think we need to recognize that it does take time to develop and build who you are as a person and how you communicate with the world, how you're able to uplift and encourage other people. That takes time, invested time in discovering that, and it builds experience over time as well. Now, connecting with other people, he doesn't actually really delve into that as much in this chapter, but he has talked about it in the book, and we've talked about it in the previous video. When you really think about that, you want to understand the needs of the person that you're trying to connect with so you can speak to their needs, speak to the benefits of what it is that you're proposing. But understanding and being more focused on them and understanding their needs is going to go a long way in connecting intellectually. Whether that be in a one-on-one or more of a larger group setting, you want to know your audience. And I get excited about this component because I think when you're connecting intellectually, you're really moving from communication towards connection, right? Like you're really crossing that threshold as you learn about who you are as a person, where you can speak from, and the person that you're trying or people that you're trying to connect with when you best understand them. Now you've really got that opportunity to move towards connection. The third component that John outlines is connecting emotionally. And in our world, people connect with your heart, who you are as a person, before they connect with your words. That's a reality of our culture and the way that communication is today. They connect with your heart. They connect with who you are. They hear who you are in your heart. And that really comes back to, again, what we talked about in last week's video, putting other people ahead of yourself, the needs of other people when you're connecting and looking to communicate with others, putting them ahead of yourself. I thought John makes an interesting point in this chapter. He talks about charisma. I want you to think for a moment, who's a very charismatic person that you know, maybe the most charismatic person that you know. Think about that person, the way that they enter a room, the presence that they have when they're in a room, and how they make people feel that are there when they're very charismatic people. I know when I think about the charismatic people that I know in my life, I often feel like uplifted and encouraged when I think about them. I'm excited to be in a room with them. And what John pointed out, I thought that was really interesting is, I always thought that charisma was maybe something you were born with, maybe more of a character trait, but it's definitely something can be developed. And he said, people with charisma are very focused on other people. When they come into a room, they bring their charisma and they're actually very focused on the others, not just focused on themselves. And that allows that presence to be there. And so when you're taking those steps to being sort of charismatic, present, thinking about others, that allows people to connect with your heart, because it answers that question, do you care for them? You do care for them because you see them as valuable. You want to understand them. You want to be able to uplift and encourage them positively, and they're going to connect with your heart and connect with you emotionally. And of course, the fourth component of connection is verbal. The words that we say do matter. I know we're talking about, where they matter and how much they matter, but they do matter. Think about it. The words that you say to your spouse, the words that you say to your kids, the words that you say to your team matter. They resonate. They stick with people. Think about quotes that have stood the test of time, quotes that uplift us, encourage us, challenge us, some that make us laugh. I think about this great quote attributed to Abraham Lincoln. He says, the problem with quotes found on the internet is that they often are not true. But we have these quotes that uplift us, challenge us, encourage us. Our words matter. So choose your words carefully. Even though there's so much more that goes into communication and connection, the words that you choose do matter. So how do we bring this all together? How do we connect with people from a visual standpoint, intellectually, emotionally, and with the words that we use? I think it comes back to this idea, it takes deliberate practice. It takes reading great books like this, understanding, putting into practice, trying new things, working on yourself, understanding where your truth is and how you speak from the heart, being focused on other people and understanding their needs so that you can truly connect with them. It takes practice. It takes effort. But if you're watching this video, I believe that you and I are a lot alike. We're not looking for easy, but we are looking for possible. Because when it's possible, that means we can step forward into that action that God's called us toward, that dream that He has for our life, that opportunity to connect and impact the lives of others. I'm so excited about everything that God is doing in and through your life. Thanks for being here this week. I hope you have an absolutely blessed rest of your day, and I look forward to connecting with you again next week.